There's only but a few at the bottom we can follow. Who possesses the will to win? Stay 10 toes down, even when the stream begins to thin. What does that actually look like? Hush money. Help us save humanity. Money over negative entities, you dig? Now come join in on this conversation we're about to have with Chris Johnson here in this shared space of respect and gratitude. Thanks for coming. To voice your honest opinions, because they do matter, so does growth, with the ability to agree to disagree. Hush Money welcomes you. How you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Oh yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah.
good.
That's
Thank you for
good.
the invite, man.
Oh
Thank
man,
you.
I'm glad you showed up. For real, you looking real spiffy today, though.
Hey, man, it's just where I roll when I go out in public, man.
All right.
With being homeless, man, and having an opportunity to get your life together, I made my mind up. If I ever had an opportunity to dress up, do my thing, man, that's what I was gonna do.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, since you jumped in with, a comment you just made about being homeless, tell us a little bit how, your story. Because really that's what I really want to bring you on for, because you got a unique story.
Yeah. So homelessness is what brought me to Hickory.
Okay. Where you from?
I'm from Kings Mountain.
Okay.
Kings Mountain, North Carolina, man. I tell you, I was a hometown boy. Does good. I was first person in history of my high school to win most valuable player in football.
Okay.
2 years in a row. Got a scholarship to go to Gardner Webb. I still hold the interception record, at Gardner Webb with 25 interceptions in 4 years.
Okay.
I got
quick question. Yeah. What did you major in? Not to cut you off.
Major in physical education.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And and I got my degree, and I started teaching in public school system as a coach and a physical education teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when I was in high school, I didn't do any drugs or alcohol. I got into college, got curious, started experimenting with some stuff, man, not knowing, marijuana was the first thing I got, I experienced, not knowing where it would take me. But it took me down a road where I became addicted to it. And then once addicted to marijuana, I got my tolerance level got built up so high where I wanted to try something different.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing cocaine. And cocaine was, when I started doing that, man, that was the beginning of a spiritual death for me, because I lost my job, my family, my wife, and ended up homeless.
So you was married? You was married in college?
Yeah, I was married when I graduated from college, and then I got married. I had 2 kids, and of course I had one in college. And that was my son that was shot and killed.
I'm sorry.
He was 14 years old.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, him and some guys, man, were playing with a gun, and one of them took the gun and put it up to his side and clicked it. It had one bullet in it, and it went off and shot him in the side. And that basically was the motivation behind my nonprofit Young People Integrity, because I wanted to do something to give back and keep
remembrance of your son,
keep other young kids from making bad decisions like that.
Right.
But I got into coaching and teaching, and ended up losing all that, man, behind drugs and alcohol, because it's progressive. You start doing more and more, and then one day I remember I was in a guy's house and he offered me some crack cocaine. That was after my son had been shot and killed. Actually, it was a week after that. And the guy said, "Man, I know you hurt, man. Do this right here. It make you feel better." And I'm like, I lost my son. What else can I lose? I hit it, man. Became instantly addicted at that, right then. And then it was a downward spiral after that, losing everything. And so I was homeless on the streets in Gastonia for 3 years, man. Here I am, a college educated man, homeless on the street. And I was trying to buy drugs from some of my ex-students, and that those are the memories and actually some of the things that drove me to try to find my way back. Because when I trying to buy drugs for one of the kids that I taught and coached, and seeing tears roll down his eyes, man, say, "Coach, I can't sell this to you, Coach. I can't do it. I can't beg it. I'm begging it." He took the drugs, put it down on the ground, walked away, and said, "Man, you get it. That's on you, but I can't sell it to you." And that's something I never forget. The look on that young man's face. Right. And I said, "Man, I can't keep doing this." So I sought out help. and I went to a church in Gastonia, and they gave me a one-way ticket to Black Mountain. You know, that's where I went to Black Mountain and heard about Exodus Homes here in Hickory.
Right.
And I wound up in Hickory, uh, and the rest is you know is a story, man, of success.
Right.
Because once I got to Hickory and got into Exodus, Reverend Long Choir and Susan Smith took me under their wing, man, and helped breathe life back into me. But God was directing my path the whole way, and I didn't even know it.
Right.
You know, and while I was at Exodus, you know, it's right there in the Ridgeview community. I would see these kids walking up down the street in the middle of the day. I'm like, what these kids do? They should be in school. Pants sagging, you know, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to do something to help these kids. So I started praying to God, Lord, give me something to help these kids. And I started dreaming at night about this program. And every night I go to sleep, I couldn't let it go. You know, you got a desire, and once that desire hits you, man, you got to fulfill it. You know,
Right.
and so I went after it and created a curriculum, and took it to Alonda Jackson down in Hickory Public Housing, and she allowed me to start the program with 6 kids. I started with 6 boys down there, and I didn't have no money. I wouldn't have no nonprofit. I'm just doing this,
Right.
you know. But the thing I did with them though, I started doing things that they were dealing with in the community. Those are the things that I went after when I was trying to teach them, you know, the right path.
Right.
And they gravitated to it.
Right.
Teenagers, man, when you deal with teenagers, you got to have some substance to your program, but they ain't coming back.
Yes, true.
You know,
That's true.
so I just kept it real.
Right.
Teaching them the things that they wasn't teaching them in school. You know, those are the type of things, you know, you teach young folk. And you know, my philosophy is everybody ain't going to college, but everybody gonna be a citizen in society.
That's right.
And being a citizen in society, you gotta have a skill set.
That's right.
If you ain't got a skill set, you can't be successful.
So I recommend for our kids to really go and get trades.
Yeah.
That's what I recommend.
Yeah.
But this is not only a podcast, right? This is also like a transformational information broadcast. But we also offer therapy, right?
Okay.
So I mean, you said a lot, and I agree with you. But I'm gonna peek out throughout your conversation, right, of what you just said. And the first thing I want to go all the way back to is because this is very important for those out there that actually done been through something in their life.
Right.
What did you do to work on the loss of your son, though? I heard you talk about you did something about the drug problem, but that was your transformation point when you lost your son that caused you to not have it all the way there in the mental. So how did you handle that? Or are you still working on handling?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it took a long time for me just to come to grips with that. And so what I did was, man, I felt guilty for a long time because I felt like I wasn't the type of father that I should have been. And had I been there for him, that probably wouldn't have happened. You know, carrying that guilt with you, man, it's tough in the world. So what I did, man, I turned my pain into passion. And I took that pain and I wanted to try. So I couldn't save my son. I'm gonna save somebody else's.
Right.
So I took it and I began to pour into other young kids. And it was just boys at first. But man, it dawned on me, you know, I'm teaching these kids, you know, after my son died, I see them walking down the hallway, the back of their head, I'm thinking that's my son.
Right.
And I keep everywhere I'm looking out, I'm seeing my son, but it was somebody else's child.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, what, Lord, why is this happening? If I couldn't save my child, let me help save these other children. So that was I turned my passion when my passion became working with young folk. It took off. It took off like wildfire because now I'm like, now I can make a difference. I can make amends for not being there for my son. So that was, and that became therapy for me, man. You know, the more young folk that I could help, and I could see them going off to college and going into the community, getting decent jobs and doing things like that, and graduating from high school. You know, just your basic things. So my son didn't get to graduate from high school, 14 years old. But the guy that killed him got to graduate from high school, got to get married, get a family, get a job, went off and done all them things. And I was real bitter about that for a while. But and the one other thing that helped me was my spirituality.
Okay.
You know, I had to get a grip on something that was greater than me that I could rely on for strength in my time of need. And I know when I first started NA and AA, they give you this book um, uh, to read, and you know it's got the 12 steps in it and everything like that. And I had been in several halfway houses and rehab programs, but I never tried the Bible. I never tried the spirituality piece. So when I got to Exodus, I was seeing these people coming in and out the doors, you know, coming in, you know, going back out, you know, into the world. I said, what am I doing? What can I do different that I didn't do last time at the rehab when I was? And it was get that spirituality piece. And once I got that, man, God just started pouring into me, man, you know, and giving me a purpose in life. And then I realized my purpose was to mentor young folk. And when I found that purpose, man, my passion just took off. You know, because a lot of people that go through life, they'll never know what their purpose is.
Right.
But everybody that's born in this world has a purpose.
Right.
You just got to find it.
Right.
You got to keep searching and searching.
Right.
You know, it's like I say, but once I found that purpose, man, now I could heal and try to make amends for not being there for my son, because uh, the first program that the name of the program that when I started was called Young Men of Integrity, and I remember I was going to put on the front page of my booklet a picture of my son, but it was too painful because I had to look at it all the time. So I couldn't do that. So I found another picture and I put it on there. But in the back of my mind, constantly, young men of integrity reminding me of my son every single day. And so, you know, with that, I begin to heal, you know, with the success of the program and just being able to help some of these young folk get on the right path.
So, I mean that's deep, and I'm gonna tell you why. Also, I wanted to hear it because I felt like I have I have four kids, right? Three biological and one that I really did take in as mine. But if you really want to be technical, I say six. Three biological mine and three that I really did take in like they mine, right? But my three, I felt like I failed them, right? I went to prison with my first two, and they was born a month apart. I became a single parent when I came home from prison. I got one of them, right? But I'm hood. I'm from the streets. You know, I'm fresh out of prison. I'm still wild. I'm still young. You know what I mean? And but I did take on that responsibility. I don't know what made me do it. Right? I was supposed to be like the rest of them, the way I was, crunk. Right? Then I had son. But what happened was when I got him and his brother, like I said, I took them in. I let their mama take them from me. You know, and I know they needed me. You know, I could tell how they act when they with her, and I could tell how they act when they was with me. You know, that's why I advocate for men because I really know the importance of having me. I was a kid, you know what I mean, and one of the father figures. My dad died when I was 6 months, so you know, my mom, bad as she was trying to be a man, you couldn't be. You know what I mean? So I lost my daughter. You know what I mean? When she was 7 years old, she was took from me, was adopted and everything. And I felt like everything that I didn't get caught for
Mm-hmm.
things I didn't care that I got caught for.
Right.
I never felt sorry for nothing I ever done. I didn't care. I had a no caring mentality. And that was the worstest thing that had ever happened to me. No whoopings, prison, fighting, nothing ever happened to me that was worse than getting my daughter that took from me that I had since she was 2.5, 3 years old. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then to be took from me, that's why I was like, what did you do to
yeah.
but you know what? I'm gonna be 1,000, right? I didn't do therapy. I didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I turned to a lot of stuff. I was
yeah,
wild, you know what I
yeah,
mean? After my
yeah.
daughter got took from me, I went right back and not really caring.
Right,
No, nah,
right,
not really. I really didn't care, you know what I
right.
mean? And for the fathers out there that really want to be in their kid life, right? And I know it's hard to deal with certain parents out here.
Man,
Oh, do
yeah,
you find it really difficult in our community to have relationships with a scorned woman that you have a kid with?
yeah,
And could you explain why?
yeah. Yeah, that was, some of the issues that, we had to deal with uh, when we first started out with Young Men of Integrity.
Right.
Because the one thing that I don't think women understand is the importance of the father in the child's life. And just being an educator, we could see kids in school that exhibited certain types of behavior, and we were like, where's the dad at? And if they said that the dad wasn't in the life, we could kind of contribute that type of behavior, which a lot of it was passivity, being passive,
Mm-hmm.
uh, being undecisive when it comes down to making a decision. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when my son wanted to ask, him and his girlfriend was in the living room, and she asked him, said, "Where you want to go eat?" He said, "I don't know where you want to go." And she said, "Well, I don't know where you want to go." I said, "Boy, you make the decision. You the man.
Mm-hmm.
You make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all go steakhouse." I said, "We're going steakhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be going back and forth.
Right.
Try. And in the Bible it says the man is the head of the household.
Mm-hmm.
But we found we had these little boys, teenage boys, with single moms who, in their mind, they thought they was the man of the house,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't have a role model or a blueprint
Mm-hmm.
on what a man was.
True
So
indeed.
they out there trying to be a man, and was way off track.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
Mm-hmm.
the father comes into the
Mm-hmm.
picture. It is so important. The father comes in, he gives the children um, uh, that sense of security. Someone to run to when life beats you down,
Mm-hmm.
and things get rough. You know, uh, a father is the one that puts their arms around them and make them feel like it's going to be okay, or
Mm-hmm.
give them that look,
Mm-hmm.
and instill in them that self confidence.
Mm-hmm.
When it's lacking, that's what a father does.
The
You know,
disciplinarian.
exactly. And it don't necessarily always have to be physical
No.
discipline.
No.
It can be mental,
Mm-hmm.
or just visible. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and Reverend Longcry told me, man, he said, boy, you got the ministry of presence. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
He said, just be there, just show up and be there,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be surprised how much power and influence just your presence has.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a father is.
Mm-hmm.
The presence in the household makes a difference.
It does. It does. It does. And to, add on to what you just said, you know, our community is so damaged. Um, I used to think beyond repair because you hit on a great statement a few minutes ago. We go back and forth. Um, Women do want us sometimes to make the decision.
Yep.
What would you like to eat, man? Whatever you cook.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to cook. Well, I don't really know what we're gonna eat. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. I don't feel victim of that as a man. You know what I mean? Things that I learned. But I'm gonna tell you just to take it off the kids right quick and take it on to the adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that since I've been, doing this, I've learned is it's and the reason why I said, do you really think it's hard in our communities for men to be able to have a relationship with a scorned baby mother. You know what I mean? I realized once the grandmother is scoring, that's the curse. Because they pass that scoreness down to even the boys. That's why men don't talk. That's why men don't get along. That's why men look at each other like I don't trust you. That's why our community is damaged.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to put nobody down. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to make everybody look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Our men ain't great.
Yeah.
And I can contest to that. But if we really sit back and look at the picture, 85% of our boys that's in prison came from a single parent mother. Yeah. You know, they say that men have the exact same success rate with kids as two parents in the house.
Wow.
It's a fact though, you know?
Yeah.
So whenever, I get into like Facebook comment back and forth, when I'm trying to explain to them what it is that they don't see, it's their attitude that they done got from somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, and not really look. A lot of women don't know why men don't stick around. You know, and then if you do tell them, you putting me down, it's something they'll say. Oh, you don't do nothing but complain or nag. You know, it get to the point where it's hard for a man to even express himself.
Yeah, I think the one thing, especially for a black man, is when we go out in the world, we have to deal with certain issues,
right?
That will knock our self esteem down, knock us down. But we get back up, and then we have to try a little bit harder. Have to be more educated, smarter than just the average person out there on the street just to be successful, because we're stereotyped.
Right.
Being stereotyped and being black is always going to be an issue, but for a man, it's even more. I'm gonna give you a prime example. A black boy in a classroom gets angry. Teacher gets afraid. Same kid, white kid can get angry, and the teacher does not get afraid. We had to deal with things like that in the school. So I got a 6'3" African American male, and I got to pull him out of the classroom and try to explain to him why he can't get angry in the classroom because the teacher gonna look at him a certain kind of way.
Right.
He don't understand it.
Right.
He think he should be able to express his emotions the same way another child does. So when you get out in the community and you express anger in the community, African American males, we're looked at totally different because they look at us like we're hostile.
Right.
Like we get ready to tear something up. We ain't get ready to tear nothing up. We just expressing the emotion that we have inside. Now, going back to the single moms raising these boys, I heard a brother one time. I'm a Kappa. Kappa Alpha Psi here. We were talking about doing workshops. And one of the brothers say, "Man, we'll do a workshop on mothers raising sons to be the man that they'll never date." Now, that's deep.
It is.
And I'm sitting there going, he said, "Yeah, man, these mamas is raising these boys to be men that they wouldn't even date."
Right.
Prime example, they get out of the car and going to soccer or basketball practice. The boy walks out of the car, he walking into the gym, mom's carrying the backpack. Mom's carrying the bats and and the balls, and the boy walking, like, dude, that's get back here, that's your stuff. You get that. But the thing is, that's what Young People Integrity was created for, was to help mothers to raise their boys to become men and give them that resource that they didn't have.
Right.
We didn't have to be the man in the household. Right. We wasn't trying to replace a father. Right. We just trying to fill the space of the father. That's what we were trying to do.
And you know what, man? I say this even to past guests, that everybody kid is our kid.
Yeah, you're right.
So you're right. Yeah. And I do that everywhere I go. I don't care who your daddy is. I don't care who your mama is. We can see these kids that need these structures put in their life.
That's right.
Now I do know some kids that you just gotta wash your hands with.
Right.
You
can't say them all.
But this is what I
think you can.
Right, exactly. But this is what I was gonna ask you too. Why why are we stereotyped though anyway? You know, like why do they first uh inkling of us feeling out of place, they get scared? Why is that though?
Yeah, man. Well, that goes all the way back. It's something that historically that has happened from us, even through slavery.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you, and I was watching a movie one time where uh this two slaves, you got a man and a woman, and the master wants
His
the
wife.
woman, and he comes and get her,
Mm-hmm.
and he grabbed the little boy's mama, and the dad was standing there, and he looking at his dad like, you ain't gonna do nothing. And the dad he had to be passive because he knew had he bucked the master, he was gonna die. And eventually the man kept coming and getting his wife, and eventually he bucked him. He said, "Man, you got to stop that," because he was looking bad in front of his son, and he did it, and the man killed him. So with things like that, when it occurred, and then over a period of time, men, we we have to stop feeling like we can't express our anger,
right,
and have negative consequences that come behind it. But we have to be taught,
right,
how to take that anger and manage it without making other folk feel uncomfortable. Now, we can't make other people, change the way other people feel. And it's always going to be there.
right.
But we have to change the way we direct our anger out in public. Because, prime example, they talk about when a black man gets pulled over in a car, if he starts mouthing back, all of a sudden he's out of the car face down on the pavement in handcuffs. And you can have a white young man maybe doing the same thing, and they'll give him several opportunities to chill out,
Right.
and he still get to drive off. He'll get a ticket,
Right.
but he get to drive on off, and
Right.
he ain't gonna face down the hand,
Right.
And I'm trying to figure out why are we
Right.
treated certain kind of in different ways, but it's nothing that we can do.
Right.
That's got to be.
It's
Other
that,
people got to
you
be able
think
to
it's
deal
that
with that.
fear?
Yeah, it is.
So I'm gonna ask you something, right? Because um, for them to say that they say America is not well, racist is not a word, you know what I mean, but prejudice is, right? If how do they still look at us like they do
Well,
if it's not in America no more?
right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, man. You said something about the grandmama,
right,
being scorned or whatever. You got grandparents who are still so etched in racism and prejudice, and they pass it on down,
right,
to their children,
right,
and the children, they're gonna emulate it at some point in their life, because that's what they've been taught. You can't hide it.
You can't hide
it.
it.
You try your best to hide it. If you've been taught that, or you hear it in your household, you got one or two choices. You can either speak on it and tell them, look, that ain't right. I ain't trying to deal with it. Or you can absorb it, interact with it, and let it become part of your personality. And eventually it's going to reveal itself. Right. A prime example, my daughter is in one area of schools, and there's another student there that a couple of times I've called it N-word. She's 8, 9 years old, and she knows it's bad, but she trying to figure out how to respond from it, and so she's trying to figure out why is this little girl saying that to her. The little girl probably don't hardly know what the definition of the word is, but she uses it because she knows it's offensive to other folk. And in my mind, I'm thinking, where'd she get that from?
Where'd she get it from?
She 9 years old. She 8. Where did she get that word from? Well, how did she know to use it in a derogatory manner? And so, look at the parents and the grandparents, and eventually you're gonna find out where they got it, right? Because they learned it somewhere, somehow, right? And in society, you see it. Kids, when they're young, they play together. When they, different races play together. And all of a sudden, when they get older, they realize that there are some differences.
Mm-hmm.
And you can either start treating people differently or you continue coexisting,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I do think this, though. I think things have gotten better uh, as far as race relations in our community. But I always still think that the black man still has this stereotypical thing going on where people look at him totally different.
Right.
You know, I just really
So
think that.
let's get on the black man. Where do we start with healing the black man though? Because you know that's our problem, right?
Right.
We're not healed, not none of us. But where do we start at? How do we start trusting each other? How do we start? How can I love my brother? You know.
Yeah. Well, I think it has to start with our children.
It does.
You know, you got to start young, like we were doing with Young Men of Integrity. You take the boys in there and you bring men in and allow them to see other men having positive relationships, like dapping each other up,
right.
you know, hugging each other.
Right.
I mean, I never seen another man hug another man in my life until I went to Exodus program.
Okay.
When I got there, man, we had some brothers, man. We got so tight because we had one thing in common. That was our addiction, but we were trying to get better.
Right.
And we got this brotherhood, man. So we started dapping each other up and and hugging and stuff like that, man.
Right.
You got the brotherhood, when you
That's
like that
right
there.
Yeah.
But still, little fellas would see that, man. Like when the mentors come in, what's up, Ron? We can do that, and they see it, they're gonna emulate it.
Right. Right.
So it takes us to teach our young boys how to become men, but how to love each other in the process and not try to tear each other down or go behind or backstab another brother, whatever that is. But we have to start with our young folk.
Right.
When it comes to healing the black man.
Right.
Because if we don't teach them how to love or how to show compassion for another person, the street gonna teach them. And when the street teach them, you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So
sure.
we have, and you can't, like you were saying, every child should be yours. It takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
So if you see a child out there doing something they ain't got no business doing, don't turn your head.
Right.
But don't say that boy right there. He ain't nothing. He's never gonna be nothing. Man, invest some time and some effort into that child. Help him. Because that's the only way our community is gonna heal. We got to take our community back by action and not just by word.
Right. I've noticed that gentrifying is real. Right. When I was growing up, I didn't know if they would have been talking about that then. I wouldn't even know what they was talking about.
Yeah.
But I also noticed now, though, the grandparents are dying off. Yeah. And family is coming down to your immediate, who's in your house.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see that, and almost everybody culture is like it's on autopilot, and it's hard to slow it down so people can start realizing everybody's been divided. Yeah. And so in your opinion, how if the household ain't right, then it's impossible to get the community to be right.
Right. And Ron, I tell you, man, I know some people don't go to church or whatever, but I'm gonna tell you that spirituality piece when it comes to helping a household learn how to be strong and heal from within. But when you're around like-minded people,
right?
So that's what church was or is for me. I go around like-minded people, and they pour into me.
Okay.
Just by shaking hands or when I see them speaking life into my child.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I know when I'd go to church and there was these ladies, elderly ladies, they loved my daughter, and they would always bring us something to church on Sunday. My
Okay.
daughter, you know, and there'd be some Sundays I didn't want to go to church. But I'm like, Daddy, I'm going to church. You know, she and see that little bit right there
Right.
was enough motivation, influence to get me out of bed to go. But once I got there, man, I started experiencing all this love and this appreciation for just another human being by being around like-minded people. We have to get out of. Sometime if our community is a rough community, you got to get out of it.
You do.
I mean, you know, every now and then, I mean, I got to go to church or I got to go to a meeting here or a meeting there or some stuff that's going on in school and talk to some other folk. But once I get out of it,
Right.
then I can see that there's more to life
Right.
than what I see when I step outside my door.
Right.
Because remember, we used to talk about that in Young People Tech.
Yeah.
We got to get these kids out of the neighborhoods, man.
For
We got to
real.
get them out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We started taking them to Charlotte, to Winston-Salem, to the museums and the symphony and stuff like that.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they like, well, this ain't what I want to be. I want to live here. I want to live over there.
Right. I had to leave. I had to leave. Right.
You got to, sometimes you just got to get out of that atmosphere because it's stagnant and it's negative and it's like poison, man. It'll just drag you down.
It is.
And eventually you'll be just like everybody else that's around you.
It's true.
You know.
That's true. Yeah. Off gate. You know, you said something about, you know what I mean, spirituality, right? And that's where I found myself going. You know, I was heavy going to church for a while, right? Really trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And then I learned what was wrong with me. You know, I hated myself. You know, I didn't know how to love myself. You know, and to be honest with you, I think that's what's my problem still now. I don't know how to love myself. You know, I love everybody else, but I don't know how to turn that on myself. Yeah. I don't know how to give what I give to everybody else to me, and maybe I take off. But then I be hearing, you know, pride. They'll look at it like it's pride or conceited or you know what I mean, selfish. And so it's hard for me to turn onto me because you know I do. I mean I do got an ego, you know, but I do also got a high pride. Pride is what keep me from being in the streets. Pride is what keep me away from you know when people getting drunk and doing drugs. You know what I mean? I got pride in myself now, but I don't know how to really what you. I mean I can say I love myself all day, but really, what is love of myself? You get me?
I'm gonna tell you, man, I had to learn, you know, how to do that. I'm just like you. I'm a very private person. You know, you got one of these jobs, man, where you're a principal, you know, and you go out, and, you know, around folk all the time, you know. And, you know, it was like when I woke up in the morning, I had to put a mask on. I had to put that mask on, no matter how I was feeling in here. I had to put that mask on. So when I walked in that building, that's what people could see. But when I got home, man, and I'm looking in the mirror, ain't like what I saw. You know, because I just felt like something was missing. And so they got these little, and I'm gonna tell you, man, it's really crazy. We go to Discovery Church now, and they got these little group and meetings. You know, with these brothers, the one is called the Iron Man, but it's where all these men come, and they can either talk about the Bible, they talk about what's going on at home, and they draw strength from each other. And I'm like, I ain't never been to nothing like that before. But when I started going, and you know, and I started liking it, then when I fell off, these guys keep calling me. Where you at, man? We miss you. Or they see you in the store. How you doing? You all right? I'm like, man, that's good stuff. You know, so my self-esteem began to grow. You know, especially when I'm down on myself, when I get a call or one of the guys call me and talk to me. You know, it just makes you feel good. It makes you want to be around.
That's right. Yeah.
Positive people.
Somebody thinking about it.
So I would say, you Ron, man, try to you know continue to be around positive people that are doing positive things, and just know the joy that God gives you is when these young folk that you're helping and they grow up and one of them look back and say thank you, or they really gotta say thank you. They're what they doing in the community, and you know you played a part in it. It's thank you enough.
It is.
You know, and when I see that, man, that fills my heart with so much joy. especially all them kids we done lives we touched over the years with young
Right.
people integrity, young men
Right.
integrity. And I look and I see one of the little girls that was in the program. She got a baby, and I remember her, man, when she was cutting up in the group. Man, now she got a baby, and she a mama now.
Right.
And several kids are off in college doing their thing, and I just look at God allowed me to play a small part in getting that child to where they needed to get to.
Right.
And that's where I get my strength from,
Right.
Because a lot of times I'm like, people see, look like a successful person or somebody, in a higher position in the community and think they got it all together. Man, everybody got their issues.
You're right.
But you have to work on your issues and stop trying to keep it on the inside. You got to get it out and let other folk know that this is what I'm feeling. Because if you don't, it becomes like a secret and it grows root in your soul and it begin to tear you down from the inside out.
I like that though. It becomes like a secret.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes we sit around and we talk about spirituality because we still on it. And this is my belief, right? My belief is that we are the creators of everything around us. My belief is and I heard this said in the Bible that God is within, right? And but what kind of threw me off a little bit is that I don't ever hear nobody giving themselves credit for nothing they do. Everybody always thank you something else. Thank you mysterious. Thank you.
Yeah.
What happened to you putting in the word? What happened? Why is you not giving yourself some kind of credit? And so it started making me research that specifically, right? And what I realized was whatever your mind is on, that's what comes about, right?
Yes.
Chris, it was already in you to be who you are, But in your path, because of tragic things happening in your life, it threw an obstacle and it knocked you off of it, right? So being the fact that you had already developed this in your brain, all you done was brought it back around and catapulted it. You get what I'm saying? So I don't really think it was mysterious. I think you already had what you wanted. Same thing you did when you seen the kids out there walking when you was in Exodus. Yourself told yourself, well, I need to do something, right?
Right.
So to me, now this is my opinion, right? When people pray, I think people are really praying to ask questions for an answer that your subconscious, not your conscious that know this is a mic, but your subconscious that hears stuff that we don't even hear, right? Bring to the forefront of what it is you need to do. I got the answer just like that. So when they say, because they spoke to me right there, because God is in you. Right? Right? Okay, that's all I want to say. That's all I want to say. I'm sorry. I just want to
I love it, man.
So, and anytime I've ever heard the voice, you better go right. I'm glad I went. I'm glad I. You feel me? It always sound like me.
Yeah.
The only time I heard another voice is if I'm thinking about, I can hear your voice. You could be in there and I can think about something that you said when we done been together, but I'm going to hear it. If you wrote a letter to me right now and I read it, I hear your voice.
Hear my voice.
So you see what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just had to bring that. I just had to bring that. I just had to bring that up. But I'm gonna change this up a little bit, right?
Okay.
Because I'm gonna tell you something that's really that runs rapid in our community, right?
Okay.
ADHD.
Wow.
I would like for you to give us, because you're very smart, and I've been knowing that about you. How do kids get diagnosed with ADHD, and what do ADHD really mean?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's the attention deficit disorder, and so what it is lacking the ability to stay focused on particular task at a particular time. So I can really only speak to it through what I've seen in the school system.
Okay.
Because we do kind of refer parents to get their kids to get a diagnosis because their child can't stay focused in the classroom.
Right.
And you know, and you see it. But I do think sometimes it's labeled the kids that don't really need that label. But when you see a child in the classroom, everybody is doing their thing, and this child is all over. You know, they can't stay in their seat. They keep going to the pencil sharpener, or they keep turning around talking to somebody, and not staying on task. In our mind, we're thinking, how do we get this child to settle down where they can learn? You know, because if they can't focus, then you know, educationally they fall behind.
Right.
You know, so you know, they go to the doctor, and the sad part about it is, first thing the doctor gonna do is give them some medication. You know,
narcotics.
You know, and that may lead to something else. I remember my son was diagnosed with ADHD, and when we gave him the medication, he's like he wasn't himself. You know,
right?
He was a total different person.
I've seen a lot of kids like that,
and we didn't like what we saw. So we're like, no, we're not. You're not taking that medication. You just go focus and you know just try to continue. Doing other little things. You know, to get him. He basically grew out of it.
Right.
But when you smaller and they diagnose you like that, some people use it as an advantage or as a tool or a crutch to get where they want to get to through school.
Right.
I do think, you know, there are some adults with ADHD. I think I got it myself.
I do got it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I keep moving it around in this chair. And you said that, I was just...
Hey, man, I'm telling you. And you know, it's like when we want to chill or we want to calm down, our mind is still clicking. It's still clicking. It's all over the place.
Right.
And then when you go to bed at night, you can't even go to sleep.
Right.
Your body tired, you can't go to sleep because, and you know, and I think when you get older, medication ain't really bad for you, you know, at that point because your brain is fully developed.
Right.
But when you're younger and you give these medications to these kids and their brains and organs and stuff ain't fully developed, what's the impact it has
That's
on
right. That's exactly right.
over a period of time, you know, when they grow. And some kids, you think about, you got some of the most richest and powerful people in the world have ADHD. And they got that because of the ADHD, because it catapulted them into doing things that they probably wouldn't have normally have done. So I think there's a positiveness to ADHD, and then there's a negativity to it too. So I don't think that people should use it as a crutch to not being able to accomplish the things they want to accomplish. Because I just think that there are ways around helping folk with ADHD.
Right.
But it could be a positive as well.
Right. So I'm gonna throw my, you know, I'm gonna say expertise because I lived. Right. You know what I mean? I was the kid that got phone calls, notes all the time, got a whooping every day I was in school, because my mama get a phone call. I couldn't be still. I couldn't not do something.
Right.
But I'm gonna start with, I remember watching this movie back in the days whenever everybody was segregated, right? You know, our kids flourish with that now with what they call ADHD because we were I knew how to teach our kids. You know, we knew sitting in one spot all day is not helping. Right. So let's get the kids up. We're gonna run. We're gonna do these activities like this, and this is how you're gonna learn your ABCs. You run through this. They came up with activities. Right. What it is multitasking. Okay, let me just break what it all is done. Right. If you stop a kid that's hyped like that all the time, and if you try to make them sit down and just chill, it's boring. Yeah. But if you want him to sit down and you give him something extra to do with his fingers or something, he probably can catch on because he multitasking.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what I realize is um whenever they slow you down, it's really not helping the kid at all.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it hurts them.
it does. It really does. So I tell women that I meet that kids get calls this and that and the third, it's not his fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The teachers don't know how to teach it.
Yeah.
They ain't getting taught to
Yeah.
teach kids.
Yeah.
This got to be a special somebody to be able to come in there and be like, okay, this is what we got to do today.
Right.
Hype them up. Because they already hype. Keep them hype. They learn faster. It's hands on.
Yeah.
Kids with ADHD are hands on kids. If you put them in a woodcraft, they excel. You put them automotive, they excel. But just to put them in a book where they gotta stop themselves. Oh my God!
Listen,
so yeah.
lecture. Let me say this,
Okay.
Because it puts me in mind when we put our daughter in daycare the first time. We put her in a school called Montessori School.
Okay.
And it was kind of one of these schools where you go in and it was non-traditional. All it had was activities set up all around, like in a U shape.
Okay.
And when you completed one activity, you went to another one. You get bored with this one, you go to another one. And I'm like, wow. I mean, that's and she would come home and she would, Daddy, we did this. I learned how to cut an egg. I learned how to do this. I learned how. I'm like, wow. And then so I go and then, for a parent conference, and we get to sit and watch them bounce from activity to activity to activity. You can't stand and lecture a child. The attention span.
That's right.
It's very short anyway. But the one I found was your best teachers were the ones that did exactly what you're talking about. They got one activity here, they go to another one. Like you may talk for about 5 minutes. Right. Now you show a video. Right. Now you're doing something hands on. Exactly. But you're moving. And every time you do that, you tap into a different side of the brain. So now the kid going there, they can't fall asleep. Because they doing something constantly. That's right. And things change. So you society, if you're gonna educate young folk like that, especially ADHD, right, they gotta be in classrooms where teachers and parents have to do the same thing in the household. For real. Keep kids active. You can't come in there and decide I'm just gonna sit here and do this, and your child bouncing all over the place. You gotta give them something to do. That's true. Or spend some time with them. You may not want to, but if you want to save your child, you got to invest time. That's right. That's right. And that's one of the things I've noticed too. A lot of parents don't invest time. It's a bunch of excuses though right now. And you can't really blame them though, because some parents got to work 2 jobs. That's true, man. That's where my generation went downhill at. We didn't have nobody watching us. For real. I'm gonna tell you what's crazy though. Here I am, 66, and I got a 9-year-old, and being that old, our energy level and tolerance is kind of drained when we come home from work. But my little girl, man, she didn't see that. She saw her daddy, and she wanted his time. And I don't care how tired I was or whatever. I had to suck it up and make time for my daughter. Right. You gotta do it. If you don't, they go find time or find something elsewhere that's gonna gather their attention, and it's not gonna be positive. That's right. You got to sacrifice now while your children are young, so they can prosper when they get older. You're absolutely right. Well, I'm gonna divert back a little bit more. How was it being the principal at a high school? Oh man, coming. I know what it's like to be a teacher, but being a principal, I thought it would be. I'll be able to be more hands on. I could go in the classroom and interact with kids, but it's like we have to control the atmosphere of the building.
Oh.
You know, and we got to make sure the teachers are okay, the students are okay, the custodians are okay, cafeteria workers are okay, bus drivers. It's like a whole organization that principals are in control of.
The CEO,
right? And you on a given day you bouncing from one thing to another to another. So especially the good principals, man, you hardly ever get an opportunity to sit down. But then like I say, when you come home, that's when you rest. But when you working, man, you got to work. But the one thing I love more than anything else was leaving a lasting impression on the kids in the hallway when I see them. And, because when class change,
right?
Here they come. They always.
Right.
I give them a look, and you walking past, like, what's up? Or or give them some dap. Whatever.
Right.
Or stick your head in the classroom. Say, how you doing? And you get them to a point where you constantly feeding them. Putting into them. Positivity.
Right.
Whatever you can, and doing things that take you out of your comfort zone, like dancing,
Right,
or rapping,
right,
things
right,
like that.
right,
No, I
right,
can't rap,
right,
but I try to rap
right,
in front of the kids.
right.
But sometimes, they laugh,
Right,
but still,
right.
and let them see,
And they enjoy it though.
right, and
Right.
let them see me, and
You got a
like
sense of humor.
right. And I'm gonna tell you one of the things that I love more than anything else, being a principal, but doing the step team at St. Stephen's High School.
All right.
That was man. I started the step team because when I looked around when I first got there, being at a high school, I was predominantly white, and when a lot of the kids that were minorities weren't taking part in the extracurricular activities like the clubs and stuff like that. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do a step team. So I started out and I opened it up to everyone in the school.
All right.
But all the minority kids wanted to come to the step team. And I'm like, okay, I feel it. But man, it brought self-esteem. It brought notoriety to them. And the thing that I love most is now I got them under my wing. I can speak life into them. But when I let them step in front of the parents and the student body at the halftime of the basketball games, they never seen nothing like that before. They're like, oh my God. See, they didn't realize back in the day when we were slaves and things like that. That's how we communicated. That's how we celebrated and things like that.
Right.
So it was a form of expression and delivering a message to the people in a dancing way, and so you really educating them. But man, to allow people to see something, and now all of a sudden they're asking questions. Well, where's that come from? How y'all get that here? What's the history of it? Things like that. So now you get an opportunity to educate people about something. But to see those girls put them shirts on, walk out there at halftime and do their thing, and then go to school the next day and walk around like superstars.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
their self-esteem to
Yes.
go out the roof.
Yes.
And for me to see that, for them now, they were ordinary students. But when they got on the step team, now they're very popular in the school.
Right.
And now you're popular, okay. You got it. Academically, you got to do what you got to do. You can't be coming to the office on a regular basis. You got to come to school. And I need your GPA to be at least a 2.5.
You're right about that. Yeah.
And so I could speak life into them once I had them underneath my wing. But at the end of my stint with them, they all graduated and they all went off into the community and did good things, man.
Right.
Because that's what, especially being a principal, to me I was just one of those unorthodox principals because I was, doing young people integrity on the weekend, doing step team through the week. It's just like I never took a break. But I always thought that if I did take a break, I'd always see this floor vibrate and kids falling through the cracks. I would have dreams like that.
Oh.
I'm like, well, I can't stop doing what I'm doing because if I do, somebody gonna fall through that crack. So I would just have visions like that, man, that just kept me going and going and going.
Right.
When I wanted to stop, until I got to the point where I just felt like it was time I give back to other people's kids all my life. Now it's time. Now it's time for me to give back to my own.
Right.
So
Well, that's good,
that's
man.
when I retired. That was my philosophy. That's my philosophy now.
Right.
Giving back to mine.
Right.
So yeah, being a principal, man, I loved it. I really did.
That's good. That's good. You said retired, right? Uh, most people that I be retired don't want to be retired.
Yeah. Well, it depends on you. See, when you retire, you get to craft your own retirement the way you want it to look.
Mm-hmm.
And see, my thing was when I first retired for the first 3 months, I ain't do nothing. Sat at home, I got the recliner, I got the remote, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden one day I looked around like, man, is this all there is?
Right.
You don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I'm around people all my life. Now it's just me and the TV and my dog right there. I'm like, I can't do it. So I started looking for a job. I looked for a job, man, and then I found a job at the Hickory Parks and Recreation. It was great because I was a PE teacher before I was a principal.
Right, you said that.
So I'm right back. I'm right back where I started.
Ain't that what I just said earlier? All you did was just repeat it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was already in you.
Yeah.
It was already in you,
man.
right?
So I love it, man.
Right.
But I tell you what was crazy. That's how I got reconnected with you at the weight room at the recreation center, man. Right. I saw you, man. I'm like, man, I remember you. Ron, I'm gonna tell you, man. You remember we went to WBTV Channel 3 News?
Yes, I do remember
as
that.
mentors. I'm gonna tell you, there was an incident that happened that got us there. They did a gang symposium at one of the area churches. And they remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah.
And they had a lady set up and talk about gangs and stuff like that. And she know what she talked about.
Right.
You stood up and said, excuse me, that's not what happens. That's not how gangs work.
Right.
And everybody in the room just went, shh.
They did.
Their heads came straight to you. And man, you start talking that knowledge and wisdom, and they knew it. They knew you knew exactly what you was talking about because you lived it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And in my mind, I'm like, golly, that's what my mentors right there, man. You know what I'm saying?
I made a front page news on that, right? Yeah. They put me on the front page. Yeah, article about me, right? So from that, that was years ago, right? But you know what that done? You know how I told you that sometimes your subconscious catches things. I wrote a book on it.
Really?
I'm getting it edited it and I know a real English major, very smart, right? And so she's gonna do it in a book form, Wow. Yeah, and it stems from that,
Man,
So
that's
that
great.
was I can't
great.
wait to bring it out. It's called Sideline.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, I tell you, you're a powerful brother, man. And, I
appreciate it. Thank you.
Ever since I've known you, man, we went. You were in prison. You came out, man,
right.
and you wanted to try to do right. But I'm gonna tell you what I also noticed about you, man. When you got out, it was difficult for you to get a job. Because whatever you went to prison for, or whatever. But and I saw and I wanted to help you, man. But I could see that I was working against time, cause when survival hits and people got to feed themselves, you gonna do what you got to do by any means necessary to provide for your family. You know what I'm saying?
Right, it's true.
And I saw, I said, man, we gotta get this brother a job. We gotta do something, man, cause if not, and that's why they say prison has recidivism because you get out. You got a felony. You can't get a job. Can't do this. Can't do that.
Right.
And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you do what you know how to do.
Yeah.
Because you got to feed your family.
Right.
And and I just think that's just so unfair. But I think they got laws and stuff now. Trying to help. People, fellas and stuff like that. But at the time, you were having a hard time. And that's when I began to see that entrepreneur spirit in you. Yeah. Man. And I was like, this brother right here, he gonna make it. And I saw you when you was fresh out.
Right.
And man, I and like I said, you full circle, man. You reaching back, helping folk now.
And that's why though, because I know what it's like to really not have anything. Yeah. And so this next generation that's under me, that's coming, needs somebody to eat. So if I can't do nothing but do this to show you, right, then take heed. Man. What it is though, a lot of people think it's supposed to be overnight.
Yeah. don't happen
and
like
it
that.
doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
It's a lesson. It's lessons. I'm still learning lessons. You know, this I don't even. This might not even be the final destination.
Yeah.
You know,
You
but
young
that's a
man.
good time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to a
Yeah.
church one time, my mom's church, right? And she had they had a guest preacher that came from Lenore or something. And I was sitting in the very back. She wanted me to go. You know, it's packed. I ain't really. I'm me.
Right.
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 This
Right.
man called me out the blue.
Wow.
Wanted me to come up to the front and everything, right? And all he kept saying was, "Man, I want to see you in 10 years." He said, "It's something about you." That's all he kept saying. But
Wow.
at the time, I don't know what you're talking about. No, you know, but I didn't develop a lot since then. Like he's seen something over me. A lot of people do though.
Mm-hmm.
We all do that to other
Mm-hmm.
people. But like I told you, man, it's hard for me to look in the mirror and see something about myself.
Yeah.
I be wanting people to tell me what it is. What do you see?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, because I don't see it. I don't know what it is.
But I think that's why God puts people in your life
Right.
to do that for you.
Right.
Because we get blind by so many obstacles and things that come us in life that we can't see
Right.
what God really wants us to see.
Right.
So He puts somebody in your life to say, "Hey, man, well, you entrepreneur spirit, man. You got it. And when we walk away, you sitting around, all of a sudden that voice, you hear it." And so it kind of speaks life into you, because you can remember when somebody said something positive.
That's right.
To you.
Right.
Especially when we begin to doubt ourselves, man.
Right.
Because life will do that to you.
It does.
It will have you second guessing. Should I do this? Should I do that? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? But man, I'm gonna tell you, when you're doing something and you find and you love it in your heart, you don't mind whether you're getting paid or not, and you love doing it. That is your purpose.
And that's this.
Yeah.
I don't really get no check for this,
man, you know what I'm saying?
But I enjoy doing it. I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know it's touching another generation.
Yeah.
I know that everybody out there looking for something.
Yeah.
Right? So I like the fact that when men come, women come, express, we talk, we in general conversations.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there's somebody out there right now just dealing with a death.
Yeah.
Dealing with a loss. You know?
Yeah.
Hey man, did I know I can do it?
Yeah.
You see?
We were talking about people in this society want what they want, and they want it now. They don't want. They look at the process.
Right.
We're living in a microwave,
society
now. You want the instant stuff. Put in the microwave. I gotta wait 2 or 3 seconds. I can get it. Nah, man, success don't happen like that.
It doesn't.
Frederick Douglass said, "Without a struggle, there is no progress." You've got to go through a struggle in order to get to where you got to get to. Right. Everybody got to do it.
You're right. My brother told me, he said, you can't go around it. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You got to go through it.
You're right.
And that's everybody.
And it's going to make you stronger. At the time, you can't feel it. You understand it. But when you get on the other side, you weather that storm. Right. Now you can stand. Right.
Well, I'm gonna hit you with this. My final question though, and this is a question, because I know you married.
Okay.
What? How do we? I ain't gonna say what. How do we get into a marriage and keep the marriage strong?
Okay. Well, first of all, a marriage is something you got to work on. You get married, it ain't just gonna sit there and ain't gonna grow unless you fertilize the soil or you and a lot of us when we get married, we forget the things that we did when we were courting. Recording the girl.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you, man, every now and then I have to remember, because I even I have to catch myself, man. You get comfortable.
Yes.
You get in that comfortable zone. You treating your girl, just like in your old kind of way. You got to remember, you treat her like trash. Somebody else is gonna treat her like a trash.
That's right.
And all of a sudden, that attention and that gap, gets drawn between you. So my thing, man, in my marriage, I always wanted to try to maintain that spontaneity. The things that I did when I caught her attention.
Right.
Like I'll on the way home, I'll get some flowers, man. Just bring them home. Or I'll write a poem or something. I'm still doing crazy, just doing crazy stuff, little itty bitty things, man. Get a card. Right. Do things just because. Not because it's a holiday, not because it's a birthday, whatever. Just because you love them.
Right.
You know, and it's the little things, and a lot of time it don't have to cost money.
Right.
It's the little things that you do that maintains your relationship. But I remember a movie, and I think it was a movie called Not Easily Broken, where when they got married, the pastor said, "You got a three-string rope. It's you, your wife, and God, and you keep them braided, no matter what, because you got to realize the devil's job is to kill, steal, and destroy, and the first thing he'll do in your marriage to destroy your family is to separate the husband and wife. You know, because there always going to be temptation out there. But you got to realize, how am I going to react to the temptation when I see it? Because I can go just all out, go out and kill somebody, whatever, you know.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I do that. I'm going to jail for the rest of my life.
Right.
Now my child ain't got a father.
Right.
You know, so, you know, or I can get so jealous that I become so possessive that I won't allow my wife to be herself. Because you got to realize, when you met her, she was an individual.
True
and
indeed.
she was prosperous.
Right.
You know, because that was the way you attracted me to.
Right.
So you got to allow her to continue to do that.
Right.
Man. You know.
Right. So what about you though?
What?
I mean, you got to be happy too.
Oh yeah.
So
Now, and not only that, man. You know, I'm gonna tell you where I get my happiness from is like one thing, like I like to dress. You know what I'm saying? I you know, and I dress a certain kind of way. My why you got to dress? We just going down there. You ain't got to dress. Hey, it ain't for her.
Right.
It's for me.
That's right.
You know, because it helps me feel good about who I am on
Right.
the inside.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna tell you, man, it's these brothers, man. I see them on Facebook. They call it Silver Foxes.
Okay.
Man, they got the beards down here.
Right.
They wear the hats, man. They always dress nice and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm like, I want to be like that.
No doubt.
You know, that's why. You know, and so I see little things like that to help me to be the man that I can be, so I can make sure that she's still attracted to me.
Okay.
Because I don't want to just get so far into the rut where I'm not still trying to catch the eye of my
That's
wife.
right, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So me, I mean, if it's dressing nice, smelling good, my grandma told me, say, there are three things a woman gonna remember about you when you walk away. One is the way you look, the way you dress, and the way you smell. And I'm like, I didn't even understand it at the time. And all of a sudden, when I got married, and my wife, I'm walk away, and I turn around, she's still looking, or she said, "What you got on? What's that? You know, when you smell good, you know." And if I can get that, that's food for my soul.
Right.
Because that let me know I'm doing something right.
Right.
You know, and then worshiping God. I'm just the type of person. I like to be able to worship freely and not worry about what other people think about me. If I stand up and I'm praising God, you know, a tears rolling down my face because they don't know the struggle that I had or how I got to where I am right now, and the things that I went through. Now I can give back and be thankful, and I just get overwhelmed, and so my wife sees that and she loves it because now it's like, man, he don't worry about what nobody think about him when he worshiping God. He just, you know, being himself. You know, just little things like that, man. But it's all about continue to be attractive to your partner.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And but you always got to remember this. Don't ever leave your, you know, it's like, you know, that movie Fireproof. Don't ever leave your partner in the fire. In the time of a fire, don't leave your partner. Because there are going to be times when things ain't going right.
Right.
And the first thing a lot of young folk like to do, and it's older folk now, I think older folk don't do it that much, but the first thing young folk do is, I'm out. I can't deal with this. I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? But if you stand and you fight, and and it ain't easy now. It's hard, especially when you like, dang, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna tell you, man. That's the one thing I love about my wife. And you know, Lakeisha Ross Johnson. I'm gonna tell you, there have been a couple of times when I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And she look at me and she say, "Oh, you want to give up? You want to give up on this marriage? You ain't no man of integrity." Man, that hit me right here.
Yeah.
It was like a dagger. And I'm like, oh heck, am am a man of integrity. I ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Shoot, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna dig in.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you dig in, man, and you make it through that storm,
Mm-hmm.
you stronger
Mm-hmm.
together on the other side. And there always gonna be storms and obstacles in your marriage, but you got to go through them together.
Right.
You know.
So well, you got a wife that's willing to be strong for you too, though.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, you know. A lot of women, they just as weak as the man. You know what I mean? They play tough, they say tough things, but they just as weak, you know. And okay, I'm a runner. I can't help it, man. It's in me, you know, because it's always just been me.
Right.
Even now, I'm single, and I don't even care about relationships no more. I don't care about dating. I don't care about none of that. I just my care now is more on rebuilding the man. You know, because what we've been getting out here is not it. You know, but I do care about relationships. Right. You know, and I know you gotta have real thick skin to be married. Oh, and man. That's what made me ask you that question. And you hit all the points though, so I really don't have any more questions about it. But you're absolutely right. You know, whenever you get to the point where, you know, the both of you really want it, and them hard times do come, then that conversation ain't loud and obnoxious where it's didn't leave because she could have said that and then you would have left. You see? Yeah. I have never been in a relationship where somebody stopped me like I don't want you to leave. I want to, you know what I mean?
See, that's when you know you got the one that you can spend the rest of your life with. Right. Because that's to me, if I can use an analogy like being in war, being in a foxhole. There's two of you in there, and the enemy coming up on you, and it's getting rough. You got bullets flying all over top of your head, bombs going off. You know, all of a sudden, you jump out that foxhole, you run, or you stay in there and you make a stand. You know, if we gonna die, we're gonna die together. You know what I'm saying? That's what, you know, they all get those saying, my ride or die. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's when you know you got the significant other that's good for you. Right. Because when you weak, they strong. When you strong, they might be weak. Right. You know, everybody's supposed to bring 100% to the table, but they might only be bringing 30. Right. I mean, I got to bring 170. That's right. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and that's just the way life is. Right. You know, so you got to balance that thing out, but you can't give up. Never leave your partner in the fire. I like that. Hey man, I'm glad you came. I'm gonna leave a little word of advice out here, right? And it ain't been no word of advice. I'm gonna just give y'all something that you can live with. Let's take care of the youth. Know that everything that we do is about growth. Love yourself first. Put yourself first. And then you learn how to love and cherish everyone else around you. But until next time, I'll holler.